Hello, and welcome back to Portal Heroes. However, this time it's not going to be the normal Portal Heroes. Today we're doing a let's build of a courtyard for our castle. I want to expand it out and make it look even better. So without further ado, let's get right onto it. So basically, starting out, all I did was clearing out a big area in order to sort of fit the courtyard into, because I wanted this to be the middle of a very big grand structure. Because I like the castle as it is already. The castle looks great, but I wanted to upgrade it, wanted to make it bigger, make it better, add all sorts of things, add a keep, add a place for magic, because the Ars Magicas packs in the mod pack I'm using, add sort of a trophy room, kitchen, all that good stuff. But for that I needed more space, I needed more towers, I needed more bigger, grander rooms to make it look great. Because although those towers are empty, I'm going to be finding some machinery to put into them. Chests and all that sort of good stuff. So here we are, just clearing out the big area of land which will be needed. There we go. Also needing to... So basically the tools of today are the hammer, the excavator, and the creative builder's wand. Now the creative builder's wand is probably the most useful tool I can think of for anyone wanting to do big builds. I mean, it just makes it so much easier when you're wanting to place down a lot of the same block in a row. For example, for castle walls, or for moats, or for anything like that. It is brilliant. Cannot say that enough. So now we've got our space. What I'm doing here is basically just marking out the main pathway, which is going to go through the courtyard. I decided to make it a bit of a cross. So what I did was I made this about 44 long, then had the path going 22 long, then splitting off, as you'll see. I can't explain it too well. Got some cobble blocks basically, and made that. So that's 44 long, and those are a lot of bricks, which is one of the issues I have with using the creative wand, actually, because that happened quite a few times. My God. But yes, so basically did that for 22 blocks, or 44 blocks. Marked it off, then got around halfway to the middle. Come on. Come on, where's the halfway point? It is there. So there we go, marking that with the little cross. And they'll just branch out, as you'll see. So get those to reach 22 long, so it's all sort of symmetrical. So it's incredibly nice. There we go. And then just use the builder's wand and poof. There we go, all good. Right. So just building it out, making it look good, making it look as good as possible. You will notice there is a depth there. That is because I stupidly, and I mean stupidly, dropped out of creative mode whilst I was clearing out and excavating the area in front of the castle. And I fell about 200 blocks. That was smart of me. So there we go. We've got that going. Now what we're doing is sort of having to lay out what sort of size walls we want to have. So we've got these little brick walls. Now these ones are just to mark out where the main thing's going to go. And I will use them later on for some other stuff. But they're just a placeholder. Then on the other side, get the same. Sort of try and get them all about the same length, which I think was about 17 blocks. But as you can see, it's going well. Okay, so keeping going on with this, had to fill in the gaps, but basically I just went on and did this for all four corners. With that done, I then went and decided to decide how high I wanted it to be. I also added in these little corners. Now, they were going to be something additional for the roof later. That's why I wanted to have them there. And then building the actual size of how big the wall would be. So I decided to make it 4 blocks wide and mark it out like that. Now there was one of my first mistakes, which was one side was 4 blocks, one was 3 blocks, which made it a bit tricky when I came to making a roof for it. But as you can see, doing the same exact thing here. There we go. So yes, I did do some silly mistakes. But, you know, that's basically how a lot of the creative process goes with me. With all of my buildings, there is a lot of trial and error. There we go. So that's got the basic structure out. And then we just have to flesh it out a bit and make it look a lot better. And then I'm having to scrap that because I realised it wouldn't work. So now what we're doing is we're just continuing to fill in the main pathway. Sort of having to get that all done so that we can then move on to getting the walls and all of that stuff right. Getting it all laid in. Now, I am going to add slabs on top of those. I didn't manage to when I was recording this, but I've realised that that would help it by giving it that little bit of extra depth that it kind of needs. And here I am just turning it. See, instead of a cross, I actually wanted sort of a circular centre of it, so that I could add a sort of well in the middle. And I thought that if the well's just in the middle of the path, people aren't going to be able to get around it. So I decided to make this sort of big central circular plaza sort of thing. There we go. And that ended up looking rather nice, I must say. There we go. You can see how it turned out there. And just in the middle, I was going to build a nice little water feature. But now what I'm working on is getting the wall marked out. So deciding how to put it down, getting the bricks in. There we go. And then I realised I do need them on the other side as well. But yes, just needing them all marked in. There we go. So just getting rid of the original placeholders and putting in some proper bricks. But then I thought, why not use stairs? The bricks would look a bit boring on their own, so if I use stairs I can sort of add this sort of 2 layers of depth. Sort of the inner bit of the stone bricks, and then the stairs can sort of go into it at a little angle, make it look a bit nicer. So I thought, why not try that, see how it goes. Because I still need the bricks there for when I put in the... what I wanted, these little arches going over. Just tiny little arches set into the brick. As you can see, just marking it out here. I believe I tried for every 3 blocks, but it didn't quite work out on some of them. I had to have a 3 or 4 and a 3. But there we go. So I'm just doing the same over here as well. And I did keep one of the little poles for each corner just to mark out the point where I wanted the roof to meet. Just as little over the top bits. You see what I mean later. And I did try for symmetry as much as possible, but sometimes it wasn't quite working out. But I do think I managed quite well. But yes, there we go. And you can see just building up the wall to the second tower. Which, to be fair, I actually really do like how all the buildings have turned out on this series so far. You can see just making sure that wall was already all set in. And there I am realising my utter, mess up. Thought, nah, screw it, I've already started, I might as well finish. But yeah, I've got that cobblestone lane, which is basically just going through. And we'll end up going into sort of this entrance area, which I was thinking might be a good idea. But hopefully for this series I can just keep expanding it out, making it look better and better. There I am, just finishing adding in the last bits of the pillars, and then realising I probably want to make it a little bit taller. And here's one of the best uses of a builder's wand. You just want to use it for stuff like this, just building up those walls as high as you want. without using as much time as you might otherwise. But yes, it's an incredibly good use of it. And for some reason, the left corner, the block's right at the very end, never went in fully. No idea why that happened, but it did. It was incredibly annoying. So yeah. That worked out incredibly well. So now you can see there, the if I didn't raise the block one more higher, it would just look a bit too slim, bit too much like a letterbox. I wanted it to be a bit higher so it looked more like an archway and less like, you know, less like it was just there for no reason. There we go. But a lot of this is basically just trial and error for me. That's how my entire building process works. It's just trial and error, and if it looks good, great. If not, well, I can always fix it later. There we go. Just adding in the original sort of arches, getting those in there. Just making them, and I think it looks incredibly good. I really do. I mean, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's nowhere like those giant buildings people do sometimes, but I think it has a nice little charm to it. And of course I'll be adding in somewhat mossy and cracked and all of those different types of stone bricks later, because they do add it, they add character and so on to your builds. They really do make them stand out more. But yes, there we go. And this is where I'm deciding to build that little water feature I mentioned earlier. So I decided on a well in the end. So I just decided to put a water source in. There we go. Make that into a nice little well. And add in some decoration on top. There we go. So just got a nice simple design. Nothing too elaborate. But I will be adding in sort of the mossy bricks and all of that stuff as well, as I mentioned. However, I did want something to light it up, so I decided to get some glowstone and put that in. And then put another stone brick topping to it, just to give it that extra little bit of a shape and make it look just as nice. So what I decided to do then was work on the floor. Now that was a simple job, to be honest. It was just getting in the cobblestone, using the magic wand, and just making it go as far as you needed it to. To be honest, this is just the simplest part of the build. There isn't much to talk about with this bit. It's just, yeah, as you can see. Besides the fact that this happened. And this happened a lot when I was putting in the floors, and it was bloody annoying. It's the only thing I really somewhat get annoyed by with the builder's wand. But oh well. It ended up working incredibly well. And there we go. Just putting up a little stepway up to the main buildings. And doing it again here. Just clearing it all out. There we go. And all the way down there as well. And then again, you won't believe it, but I had the exact same issue with the builder's one. So let's see when that comes in. Will it be here? Oh no, I was trying to be a bit more careful. What a shame it didn't quite work. As you can see, right here. There we go. That happened so many times. It was absolutely annoying as all hell. Right, so if we put those in. There we go. And now all we had to do was basically put the runners in across the top. Just to give it that bit more support for when I put in the roof. That actually did help a little bit when I was deciding how to do the roof. So there we go. Had to do that all the way along. As well as I could. But yes. There we go. Now this took me about an hour to do all in all. Including when I finally get the roof on. And to be fair, an hour in about 11 minutes. So I have sped this up quite a bit. But yeah, there you go. You can see I've got the basic structure in. Now it's time to sort of little little nicks and knacks need to be sorted out. For example, how would I get into this building? Well, I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to take a hammer and break into it. There we go. Right, so let's fill up the gaps. Go in there. Excavate that. Put in some more cobble. Then just make a little doorway. Lovely. And I had to do that on the other side, of course. So we go over there. Now, the problem with this is I had some patterns in the door, which I was actually rather fond of. As well as bamboo in the wall. Because I originally built a little bamboo fence to keep my little house safe. And then, you know, decided to build wall around that. Then more and more and more. And it built up slowly into what you see before you. And then, there we go. Stone bricks just being put in. Again, the same sort of little doorway. Nothing too impressive. That'll come later. I can tell you, that will come later. Because I want to make some really grand looking stuff. So now what am I doing? Well, I'm just going to work on deciding to just fill in the last little bit of gaps before I get started on the roof. And then building up the little pillars to hold up those little extra bits. Making sure they're sort of like little square bits. So they line up with the beams I have set in. Make sure. There we go. And now I think I should decide what material to use for my roof. So we're looking at wooden stairs, and I noticed that there are these dark wood ones, which are a really vivid sort of bluey purple. And I absolutely love that. Blue's the colour of my channel. So I thought I'd use those. However, I was wondering whether I should use them for a normal sort of triangular roof, or for a more sloping right-angled roof. I went for the sloping right-angled one because I wanted to get these big buildings on the other side. Sort of have the roof go up and then the buildings come up behind them. But that will come later on. For now, I'm just putting in the roof and getting that sorted. So as you can see, just slowly putting it up. As you do. There we go. And on the other side, just putting in those birch, which I think the colour of birch planks goes really well with that nice blue. Bluey purple. There we go. And again on the other side, and building up just slowly. And I did realise the window would have to come out at some point. Either that or I just wouldn't bother. Whichever, really. There we go. And magic wand. There we go. And again, fuck. I did that. I don't know why it happened so much, to be honest. All I could hope is that I didn't take too much of the wall out. Luckily, only that little bit. Not too much of a disturbance. So there we go. You can just see the structure of the wall is now in place. Just adding on a little bit behind it. Now I did try to use the creator's wand on those, but it didn't really quite work because they didn't come out where you wanted them to. But yeah, basically this was my test side to see if I liked the way it looked, and I really did. I thought it looked absolutely lovely. So I did just work on it. Just working on it all the way around. And then building, as you can see, this sort of normal looking bit across here. Getting those blocks in to set the foundation for the rest of the courtyard. There we go. Put more blocks up there. And of course, those needed to go higher. By quite a bit, to be honest. But for now, I was going to focus on just getting that little ground layer of blocks out. There we go. You can just see it's starting to finally take a bit more of its final shape. And looking very good whilst doing so. So there you see. So yeah, surprisingly, the thing which took the longest on this was the roof, because of all the little sort of fiddly parts which come with it. Like putting in the interior, getting it sort of going back and forth between the two colours sort of took a bit of time. But in the end, I feel like it was absolutely worth it. I did find a little bit of a shortcut to do here, but didn't quite work out how I wanted it to sometimes. Made it a bit more finicky, if anything. But yeah, again, I did have to take out another little bit of the pattern I liked, which I was rather annoyed by. Heck, I even had to do it on the side facing out. But still, you could see how it was going to work. Just all the way around this big sort of big building. This big structure sort of enclosing the main entrance to the castle. Or at least my house, part of the castle. And again, more fuck-ups with the builder's wand. Which were incredibly annoying, I'll tell you that much. There we go. And you can see those little birch pieces just showing through, which is annoying, but I couldn't really think of any way to sort that out. So I thought I'd keep it and just sort of, you know, I would keep it and it wouldn't bother me that much. You know, it would be what it is. But there you see, I can finally go around, start to connect the two sides up. There we go. So yes, it did take a lot of patience, to be honest. It was one of the most annoying things I've ever had to do in Minecraft in a good long while, including that corner. But yeah, as it goes up, just had to remember to keep raising the back wall with it. There we go. I have no idea why, but I had incredible amount of annoyances with it. Which included the day and night cycle, which I don't believe there's any way to turn off. No, pretty sure there isn't. So I just had to sort of deal with it. And there we go. So yeah, you can basically see how it's going to go from there. Just adding the 2 bricks in there to completely just join up the 2 halves. And get it to all become one little piece. There we go. As you see, it did result in something which I think looks absolutely amazing. Just getting that. Going all the way around. Good grief, this made my head spin when I did it actually, because good grief, I actually started to get motion sickness, and I never get that in Minecraft. It's really odd. I've only ever gotten motion sickness in Minecraft on the VR version. For obvious reasons, it's fucking VR. But there we go. Just fill in that little gap there. And I could finally start fully closing it in. There we go. Putting in the blocks. And this was where I really noticed I would have to do something about the difference in width of the walkways. So what I could have done, which I didn't realise at the time, is that I could have actually made the back wall a bit lower and done it that way. However, that would have looked incredibly sloppy in some way. So instead, I feel like I found a more elegant solution, which I'll show you when it comes to it. So let's just fill in those gaps. There we go. And of course, we'll need to fill in all of the little gaps on the actual thing. There we go. So yeah, you see my issue was pretty obvious. Yeah, just doing that all the way along. Just going to have to do a bit of a little job with it. And again, turning the lights on might have helped a bit. My god, it did get a bit dark in there. Again, lighting up, something I'll have to look into for this. There we go. To be fair, lighting up with that kind of roof can be a bit tricky. Torches do work, but they do look a bit messy, so what I might do is just get the occasional glowstone block and put those in. But you can see just this sea of blue looking very nice. And some birch, which has got to be filled in. So I did manage to do that. Now, for the last bit, I did have to have a look into it because I wasn't sure which blocks I would use. I had to look for dark wood And originally I thought saw these facades, which I have no idea how they work, so I had a go. Didn't see anything. Then I saw the slabs. Now, they do work, and I think they work bloody well, considering. But they are really awkward to put down. But you know what? They filled in the gaps incredibly well, and I am happy with it. I am so happy with how it turned out. There we go. And if there were any gaps on the inside, it didn't matter, because I could just join them onto the next one. As so. There we go. So that's the outside all done. And that looks great. Now the inside, just a few more gaps. And the little birch bits I'm not really bothering with, because that would have taken way too long. But I did it anyway. I couldn't find ones which precisely matched up, because I was sort of hurrying at this point. So I found those which look good. They don't match up seamlessly, I won't lie. They don't match up seamlessly at all. But they match up well enough. And that's all that matters. There we go, a bit lighter. But yeah, just getting those in. Sorting it out. And as you can see, now all we've got left are little holes and the 2 corner bits. Now what was I going to do for the 2 corner bits? Well, I was going to get those dark wood slabs again. Where are they? There they are. And put those down just to make a nice little corner bit. There we go. And I think this really does look good. Now, the only thing I would have hoped would have been to have little corners on them, but quite frankly, I was just pleased to get it at all. Because I didn't think the slabs worked like that. So there we go. That's that bit done. And we have our whole courtyard finished. Or at least the outside bit. We'll have to work more on the inside bit in a moment. So there we go. Ah, lovely. Really does look very good. And thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I've been ToggleJam. And this has been a Let's Build of a courtyard for Portal Heroes. And next, we'll be continuing this for a while, because Portal Heroes isn't going anywhere, but I want to get this castle finished. I want to get a good castle for my series. So let's finish there. See you next time, guys.